Tonight, you're going to eat something out of a box, maybe a bag, maybe a wrapper with a cartoon on it. You won't think about where it came from. But for almost the entire span of human existence, that meal didn't exist. There was no box. There was no wrapper. And the way your ancestors found food was far stranger, far riskier, and far more varied than anything on your plate tonight. You probably picture early humans gnawing on raw meat around a fire. That image isn't wrong, but it's incomplete. It's also misleading in a way that still affects how you eat today. Here's the real story. For roughly 290,000 years, before anyone planted a single seed, humans were hunter-gatherers, not farmers, not herders. Gatherers first, hunters second. That order matters. Plants made up the bulk of most diets, not meat. Anthropologist Richard Lee studied the Juhoansi people of the Kalahari Desert in the 1960s and found that roughly 65 to 80% of their caloric intake came from gathered plant foods, not hunted animals. Roots, tubers, nuts, berries, leafy greens, seeds. Meat was prized. Meat was celebrated. But meat was not the everyday meal. Why does that surprise you? Because the story you've heard is the dramatic one. Mammoth hunts, spear throws, big kills around a fire. That story makes for a good movie. It does not make for an accurate diet chart. So what were your ancestors actually eating, day to day? The answer depends entirely on where they lived. This is the part most people miss. There was no single paleo diet. There were thousands of them, shaped by climate, geography, and season. In coastal regions, shellfish were a staple. Archaeological sites in South Africa, like Pinnacle Point, show evidence of humans harvesting mussels and other shellfish as far back as 164,000 years ago. Shellfish are easy to gather, packed with protein, and rich in omega-3 fatty acids. Some researchers, including archaeologist Curtis Marian, have argued that this coastal diet may have played a role in supporting brain development in early Homo sapiens. Inland and grasslands and savannas, the diet shifted toward roots, tubers, and seasonal fruits, supplemented by insects, eggs, and small game. Termites, grubs, and larvae weren't a last resort. They were a reliable, high-protein food source available year-round, even when larger animals were scarce. In colder climates, especially during ice ages, the equation flipped. Fewer plants survived the cold. Meat and fat became essential, not optional. Neanderthals living in parts of Europe during glacial periods got the overwhelming majority of their calories from animal sources, according to isotope analysis of their bones conducted by researchers including Hervé Boucheron. Their bodies adapted to a high-fat, high-protein diet because the environment gave them no other choice. Notice the pattern here. Diet wasn't a philosophy. It wasn't a lifestyle choice. It was a direct response to what the land provided. This matters because it explains something about your own body right now. Your digestive system is not built for one specific diet. It's built for flexibility. Humans evolved as opportunistic omnivores, capable of extracting nutrition from an enormous range of foods. Tubers one season, fish the next, insects when nothing else is available, fruit when it ripens. This flexibility is part of why humans were able to spread into nearly every environment on Earth, from deserts to Arctic tundra to tropical rainforests. But flexibility came with risk. Food was never guaranteed. There was no refrigerator, no backup, no delivery app. A bad season could mean weeks of scarcity. And this is where something strange happened, something that still shapes your cravings today. When food was scarce, the foods that mattered most were the ones with the highest caloric density. Fat, sugar from ripe fruit. Anything calorie-rich was valuable, because calories meant survival. Your brain evolved to find these foods intensely rewarding, not because they were bad, but because in a world of scarcity, craving them kept you alive. Here's the twist. That craving never went away. The environment changed. The craving didn't. Researchers studying the concept of evolutionary mismatch, including psychologist Daniel Lieberman, have pointed out that many modern health problems stem from this exact gap. Your brain still rewards you for eating calorie-dense food as if it were rare. But it's not rare anymore. It's in every gas station, every vending machine, every delivery app on your phone. Your ancestors needed to seek out fat and sugar because finding them was hard, and finding them mattered. You don't need to seek them out. They come to you instantly, constantly. But the reward system in your brain hasn't updated. It's still running on 290,000-year-old software. Think about that for a second. The same neural circuitry that once rewarded a successful honey hunt, a rare and dangerous task involving smoke, bees, and tree climbing, now rewards you for tearing open a wrapper. There's another piece to this story, and it's about timing. Ancient humans didn't eat 3 meals a day on a schedule. Eating was opportunistic. You ate when food was available, which meant periods of abundance, followed by periods of nothing. Some researchers believe this irregular eating pattern, sometimes involving extended periods without food, may have shaped certain aspects of human metabolism, including how the body manages energy storage and hunger signals. This doesn't mean your ancestors were starving all the time. Most evidence suggests hunter-gatherer societies were often well-nourished, sometimes more so than early agricultural societies that followed them. When farming began roughly 12,000 years ago, something unexpected happened. Skeletal evidence from multiple archaeological sites shows that early farmers were often shorter and had more dental problems than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. A diet based heavily on a single crop, like wheat or maize, provided more total calories, but fewer nutrients. So the story isn't simply hunter-gatherers had it bad and farming saved them. In some ways, the opposite happened. Diversity decreased, reliability increased, and humans traded one kind of risk for another. Now think about your own plate. The diversity that once defined human diets, dozens of plant species, seasonal variation, regional adaptation, has been replaced by something much narrower. A small number of crops, primarily wheat, rice, corn, and soy, now make up the majority of calories consumed globally. Your ancestors might have eaten 20 or 30 different plant species in a single season. You might eat 5. This isn't a moral statement. It's not about good or bad. It's about mismatch. Your body carries instructions written for an environment of scarcity and diversity. You live in an environment of abundance and uniformity. So why do you crave certain foods late at night? Why does a bag of chips feel almost impossible to stop eating once it's open? Why does sugar hit differently when you're stressed or tired? Because somewhere in your brain, a very old system is still doing its job. It's still scanning for calorie-dense food. It's still rewarding you intensely when you find it. It just doesn't know that finding it isn't hard anymore. Tonight, when you eat something out of a box, you're not just having a snack. You're activating a reward system that took hundreds of thousands of years to build, in a world that took only a few decades to completely transform.